Megapixels do not matter to your photography, because if they did, you'd throw away your camera right now and shoot on your phone instead. My regular iPhone 15 can shoot 48 megapixel photos, while my Canon R5 shoots a measly 45 megapixels. And then if you can escape the Apple cults, Samsung Galaxies have 200 megapixel cameras, which is more than Hasselblads that cost tens of thousands of dollars. So what's the real story here? And are you and I chumps for spending so much money on camera gear? How many megapixels do you actually need to take a great photo? Should you be looking at that new camera just because it has more megapixels? Well, as we'll find out, megapixels are like credit card points. You get a lot of them, but they don't really do much for most of us. But before I break down why you need fewer megapixels than you think, you need to understand what a megapixel is in the first place. A megapixel is just a fancy word for a million pixels. These pixels live on your camera's sensor, which is the place where your camera actually records the light coming in through the lens. Across that sensor are millions of tiny little pixels that are hungry for something called photons. Although you and I just see light or dark, photons are the tiny particles that make up light. The more photons, the more light, and vice versa. Now back to our little pixel friends on this sensor. They are ravenously hungry all the time, and the only thing to satiate that hunger is more photons. But the reason that they're so hungry all the time is because your camera settings are limiting how much each pixel gets to eat. Your shutter speed is the first of these settings, which acts like floodgates opening and closing to your sensor. When the shutter is open, photons come in. Then when it's closed, that light is blocked out. The second of these settings is aperture, which is like a pipeline that controls the flow of light into the camera. The wider the pipe, the more light will flow through, and you get the idea there. There's also ISO, but that doesn't limit light entering your camera, but changes the amplification of light hitting your sensor, typically at the cost of more grain, but that's a whole other can of worms for another time. If these settings though throw you into a tailspin while you're shooting, before we move on, grab a free copy of my photography essentials guide in the description below. You can download it to your phone and it breaks down all of these settings in a really easy to remember way. Again, you can get that in the description below. Anyways, since all of those pixels know it's going to rain down photons the next time those floodgates open, aka your shutter, they're all anxiously waiting with buckets to catch as much light as possible when the time arrives. But every pixel can only hold a bucket equal to their size on the sensor. So if a sensor has larger pixels, each pixel has a larger bucket, so it's easier for them to capture more light at once. As light begins to rain down on those pixels, each one gets to fill their buckets with more and more photons, and the more full that their buckets get, the more information that pixel can tell you about what it saw. But what does this mean to you and your photos? Well, this is where the interesting part comes in and why most people don't actually need that many megapixels. Say for example, you have a 24 megapixel sensor. That means you have a sensor with 24 million pixels holding up their little buckets to fill with photons, because remember, 1 megapixel just means 1 million pixels. So if we had a 200 megapixel sensor, like that on the Samsung Galaxy, we would have 200 million pixels eagerly waiting to scoop up light. Obviously, in theory, the more megapixels the better, because you have more pixels and more buckets to capture light with, but this brings us back to something important I said earlier. Every pixel can only hold a bucket to capture light equal to that pixel's size on the sensor. And not all sensors are the same size, meaning the size of our pixels and the photon buckets that they hold will vary quite dramatically. On my iPhone, for example, the sensor is about the size of my pinky nail, or this little tiny piece of paper here. Since it can capture 48 megapixel photos, there are 48 million pixels divided across this tiny little area. The sensor on my R5, on the other hand, is a little bit larger than a postage stamp. This sensor, which is about the size of this piece of paper, is 45 megapixels, so it holds 45 million pixels across this area, which is admittedly still a pretty tiny area, but it offers a lot more real estate compared to the iPhone sensor. So if we know that more light equals more image information, but the amount of possible light recorded depends on the size of pixels on the sensor, Let me ask you this. Which of these two sensors will capture the most light and therefore the higher quality photo? The one with the larger surface area because the pixels are larger and capable of recording more light individually. If we look at these two photos side by side, for example, taken on my 48 megapixel iPhone versus my 45 megapixel R5, there's obviously a difference in details. The iPhone looks mushy, less crisp, and the fall off is a bit less smooth. This is where all of this comes to a head because despite the quality differences being true, a larger sensor will technically give you a better quality photo. That still does not matter for most of you watching this video. This isn't meant as a dig or anything about you as a photographer. It only has to do with the simple reality of where most of us share our photos. Online, probably viewed on a little mobile device, probably on something like Instagram. Instagram, for example, posts vertical images at 1080 by 1350 pixels, which is just 1.4 megapixels. Most other social media platforms are kind of in similar ballparks. I had to zoom in to 400% to truly see the differences between my iPhone and my professional camera. Besides the depth of field and color variations, when viewed side by side, I'd be lying if I could see any noticeable difference in terms of pure quality. So if you've ever felt like you needed to spend more money for more megapixels just to post marginally higher quality images, that's just not true. Most of us only share our photos digitally, so we need way fewer megapixels than our cameras already capture. Most of those photos are viewed on mobile devices or just generally smaller screens, and most of us rarely print our photos beyond an 8x10 where you can reasonably print a phone or camera photo and it's still gonna look great. It's awesome if you have the megapixels to spare, but like I mentioned earlier, they're kind of like credit card points where you get a lot of them, but they don't really do that much for you. Now, I can already sense that some of you who maybe just bought a new camera for the extra megapixels are feeling a little agitated now. You're probably gonna type, man, I'm gonna give this guy peace of my mind. But let's just slow down a second because there are two important caveats where more megapixels actually can be more useful to some of you. One being if you heavily crop your images, such as with wildlife or sports photography. And the second is if you want to print your photos at abnormally large sizes. Since we've established how most of our image information is never fully appreciated in their small size online, that extra image data can be used for cropping without noticeable changes in quality. This only really works though when we're sharing to places like Instagram where the photo is way smaller than the original. For example, this image on my R5 is around 5500 by 8100 pixels. If I wanted to share this on Instagram, I know that the final image size will be around 1080 by 1350 pixels. So just to be dramatic here, if I were to actually crop this photo to such a size, it would be just this tiny part of the photo. But actually looking at that final crop on my phone, if I saw this on Instagram, I would have thought, man, they probably took that photo with a pretty big lens that I do not have. I would have not expected that they would crop the photo so heavily. This is only possible because I had so much extra information to begin with that I did not need when sharing in the final medium of, say, Instagram, for example. Now, I'm not saying that cropping beats actually framing the photo correctly, using the correct focal length, or that it matches the exact quality of the original. But if you have more megapixels, you have more flexibility to crop if you want to. Do with that information as you wish. The second area that more megapixels prove useful is for printing above typical sizes. Let's say anything above 30 inches. I'm not going to get too in the weeds on that as printing can kind of be a series of videos on itself, but mainly if you have more megapixels, your camera captures larger images so you can print on larger canvases with better quality. However, this photo here is 24 by 36 inches and I shot it with a 30 megapixel camera. Most modern cameras for beginners to intermediate budgets shoot in the same range between 20 to 30 megapixels. So a photo print of this size would be reasonable for most cameras, especially since the prints are viewed at a distance and not with your nose to the paper. So it's going to look better as you stand further away from the print. But outside of those two situations, for the rest of us shooting portraits, landscapes, street photography, travel, or anything else that you'll mainly be sharing online, 16, 18, 20, or 24 megapixels is more than enough. So stop worrying about megapixel count and instead focus on what's more important than megapixels. First off being lenses, because a $2,000 lens will make any camera look better than a $200 kit lens, even on a top-end one. And secondly, just focusing on the craft of creating images, focusing on understanding light, framing your subjects, telling a story, understanding color, and actively thinking about all these things while you're shooting. There's a reason why the best photographers in the world can capture great images with any camera. They don't necessarily need expensive gear. It's because they've mastered the craft. But if you feel like I'm totally off base with this and believe that megapixels do matter to people, especially for someone who is a beginner, I'd love to hear why in the comments below. Hopefully we can strike up a dialogue with everyone's experiences below to make this a bit more of a rich conversation rather than just my opinion being force-fed through your screen. After all, if you want more megapixels and you have the money to spare, I'm not your mom, do what you want, but regardless, I just hope we can all get out and enjoy shooting next time we're out there. Now, since you made it this far in the video, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe if you want more useful photography and photo editing thoughts, tricks, and tips. But with that, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.